The only two exercises you need for strong and massive legs. Have you ever felt that frustration of walking into the gym and seeing a leg day grind with so many exercises that just looking at the workout plan makes you want to sit down and take a deep breath before even starting? It's like a rite of passage. Barbell squat, hack squat, leg press, leg extension, lunges, stiff leg deadlift, conventional deadlift, glute kickback machine, adduction, abduction. So many exercises that halfway through the workout, we're already wondering if we really need all that to build strong and amazing legs. And the answer, especially if you're someone who doesn't use illicit resources, the famous natural, is that many times less is more. The truth is that just 2 good exercises are enough to provide a massive stimulus for your leg development, without needing a huge list that leaves us out of breath just reading it. The first one is the leg curl, and you're about to understand why. At first glance, it might seem like a very simple movement, maybe even too easy for those who are gym rats. But underestimating the leg curl just because it's so simple is a mistake that can cost you dearly. The leg curl efficiently isolates the back of the thigh, meaning the hamstrings. These muscles mainly include the semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and the long head of the biceps femoris. They are essential for knee stability and for the strength needed in movements like running, jumping, and even providing that stabilizing direction in the squat or leg press. When well developed, they add density to your legs and help create the impression of a full, well-balanced leg from all angles. A lot of people focus on the quadriceps because that's what they see in the mirror and end up neglecting the hamstrings. This also happens with the arms. Many beginners don't realize that the triceps add much more size to the arm than the biceps. Think of your body as a system of gears. If one side is much stronger than the other, you risk injuries and ending up with an unbalanced leg. The leg curl directly tackles this problem, providing a highly effective and specific stimulus. This exercise isolates the back of the thigh without much interference from other muscles, unlike compound movements where multiple muscle groups work together. This isolation is precisely what makes the leg curl excellent for those who feel their hamstrings aren't getting enough emphasis. Because it's an isolation exercise, it allows you to intensify contraction and time under tension in this area in a very controlled way. Unlike exercises like the stiff leg deadlift or conventional deadlift, which are excellent but place a high demand on the lower back and other muscles to stabilize the spine and maintain posture, the leg curl lets you focus 100% of your effort on the hamstrings. Additionally, the learning curve is shorter. A beginner can quickly grasp the technique, understand the movement, and start progressing in weight without as much risk of poor posture or overloading the lower back. Even for more experienced lifters, the leg curl works as an exercise to finish off the hamstrings in a more compact but highly efficient workout. How to execute it correctly. First, adjust the backrest and the height of the roller. You need to ensure that your knees are aligned with the machine's axis of rotation. Many people sit too far forward or too far back, which misaligns the knee joint in relation to the equipment. Adjust the seat so your back is well supported without slipping, and check that the pivot point of the machine is exactly at the height of your knee joint. Next, position your ankles on the lower roller. Make sure the roller is in contact with the area just above your heel, not too high on the Achilles tendon and not too close to the middle of your calf. Even while seated, it's essential to keep your torso stable. Don't slide around in the seat or make abrupt movements with your lower back. Finally, lift the roller with a controlled curl, feeling the back of your thigh contract. Focus on bringing your foot toward your glutes. Pause for 1 second to intensify the contraction. Then, return to the starting position slowly, resisting the weight on the way down. Tips to intensify the movement. Use rest-pause techniques. After reaching concentric failure in a set, rest for about 10 seconds and try to squeeze out a few extra reps. Isometric hold at peak contraction. Holding the maximum contraction for 2 or 3 seconds at the bottom is a great way to ensure more hypertrophy. Drop sets. If you can quickly adjust the weight, do a set to failure, reduce the load, and keep going, maximizing time under tension. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can keep getting the best fitness information possible and progress faster and safer. Mistakes to avoid on the leg curl if you don't want to waste time doing the movement for nothing. Don't force your foot upward. This is the most important one because it's the most common. I remember a guy who used to train with me and always complained that he couldn't feel his hamstrings on leg day. After a while, I was watching his workout and noticed that he kept his feet completely pointed up, making his calves do almost all the work. After adjusting his positioning and foot focus, he finally felt that amazing burn in his hamstrings for the first time in his life. Within a few weeks, his legs looked like a whole new set of limbs, stronger and more balanced. If you keep your toes fully pointed up, you end up over-recruiting the calves, reducing the stimulus on the hamstrings. Ideally, keep your foot in a neutral position or slightly pointed downward to direct the tension to the back of the thigh. Avoid overextending your lower back. Don't try to cheat the movement by leaning your torso forward or pulling your hips off the seat. This only takes tension off the hamstrings. Control the weight on the way down. Performing the eccentric phase with control makes all the difference. Letting the weight drop too fast removes stress from the muscle and increases the risk of injury. Now that we've covered the hamstrings, the fact is, you definitely can't build serious legs without working the front part, right? If the leg curl solves a lot of the hamstring equation, now it's time to talk about that monster compound exercise that engages almost the entire body, but places special focus on the quadriceps, and on top of that, makes you stronger in various other movements and even helps boost testosterone. The traditional squat. The traditional squat is considered the king of exercises for a reason. It engages a large portion of the body's musculature, but primarily the quadriceps, which consist of the vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, vastus intermedius, and rectus femoris. When you perform a barbell back squat, your entire body is recruited to stabilize, balance, and generate force. The result is a massive release of anabolic hormones, greater muscle synergy, and a brutal stimulus for building strong, massive legs. Beyond the quadriceps, the squat activates the glutes, hamstrings, lower back, core, and even the supporting trunk muscles like the erector spinae and paraspinals. No other leg exercise offers such a high potential for overall muscle and strength gains. And it doesn't stop there. Having a well-executed squat will improve your performance in countless other athletic movements, whether in daily life or other sports. The key advantage of the squat is that it's a multi-joint exercise. The load can be progressively increased, and the body responds by gaining strength and hypertrophy in a comprehensive way. The reason it stands out compared to other quadriceps exercises, like the leg extension, is precisely its ability to recruit a large amount of muscle mass at the same time. This high level of muscular involvement generates significant metabolic and tensile stress, leading to greater adaptations in both strength and muscle mass. If you compare it to the leg extension, which isolates the quadriceps, the squat provides a more complete leg day stimulus since it also engages the glutes and hamstrings as synergists. So even though it's not an isolation movement, the quadriceps still take on an enormous load. How to execute it correctly? First, place the bar on the upper part of your back, usually just below the traps. Whether you use a slightly wider or narrower grip depends on your shoulder flexibility, but keep them firm and avoid letting your elbows flare out too much. The standard foot positioning is shoulder width apart or slightly wider, with the toes pointing slightly outward. If you're taller or have a different hip structure, you can adjust this stance for better comfort and stability. Before starting the descent, take a deep breath. Brace your core as if preparing to take a punch, maintain the natural curve of your spine, and don't round your back. Bend your knees and hips simultaneously, shifting your glutes slightly back as if sitting on an imaginary chair. Try to keep your knees tracking in line with your feet and avoid excessive inward or outward movement. Lower yourself as far as you can while maintaining a neutral spine and keeping your heels on the ground. Squat depth is crucial for signaling hypertrophy. Parallel, meaning thighs at a 90-degree angle to the shins, is a good benchmark, but if you have good mobility, you can go a bit deeper. Start the ascent by extending your knees and hips at the same time without letting your torso fall forward. To help, think about driving through your heels and pushing the floor away. Tips to intensify the movement as you progress. Paused squat. Lower yourself to the bottom of the movement, hold for 1 to 2 seconds, and then explode upward. This pause squat drastically increases time under tension and muscle activation. Breathing technique. Take a deep breath before descending. Hold the air to stabilize your core, and exhale as you ascend or when you're near the top of the movement. Load and volume periodization. A smart strategy is to do heavy sets with low reps, like 5 or 6, and then follow up with some moderate sets of 8 to 10. This way, you combine strength and hypertrophy. Using a lifting belt. If you train heavy, you might consider using a belt to protect your lower back, but don't rely on it as a crutch. The belt is a tool, not a substitute for proper technique. Mistakes to avoid: losing the neutral spine and rounding the lower back. This significantly increases the risk of injury. Keep your core tight and your lower back neutral. Letting the knees cave inward, the infamous dynamic valgus. Try to slightly push your knees outward, keeping them aligned with your feet. Lifting your heels during the descent. If your heels come off the ground, you're shifting all the weight onto the balls of your feet, throwing the squat forward. This can create imbalances and even lead to knee or lower back injuries. Not controlling the descent. Simply dropping into the bottom position is dangerous, as it compromises both muscle control and joint health. Lower yourself steadily and with control, feeling all your muscles working. And remember, because of all the benefits the squat offers, it's obvious that sometimes it's going to be extremely exhausting, and you might feel like quitting or swapping it for the leg extension. But in the world of bodybuilding, especially if you're natural, achieving great results requires suffering a little in the gym. I even had a training partner who always avoided squats on leg day. He thought that just leg press and leg extensions were enough for quadriceps development. After constantly talking his ear off, he finally decided to face the bar, and little by little, started increasing the weight and improving his technique. I swear on my life that in just 2 or 3 months, his leg development was so drastic he looked like a different athlete. Denser thighs, well-developed glutes, and even improvements in his running performance. Squats didn't just give him aesthetic gains, they transformed his overall athletic performance. So I can confidently say that with these 2 exercises, leg curls and traditional squats, you have in your hands a simple yet powerful formula to build truly strong, well-developed and dense legs. You don't need to overcomplicate things with a bunch of exercises that leave you out of breath before even starting. Focus on executing these movements with the best technique possible. Progress consistently, and watch how your legs transform week after week. If you enjoyed this information, don't miss the video where we talk about how push-ups, often underestimated in the gym because they rely only on body weight, can completely change your upper body. That video is popping up on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you, my friend.